Alright guys, I'm Dan. Welcome back to another episode of Pour Michigan Reviews. We have another fun comparison video, guys, and it's coming from beer that has been aged for several years plus. So I will say this has been in the cellar, dark, not exposed to light. I did put these in the fridge to chill them momentarily. I mean, I'm talking like 15 minutes in the fridge. That's it. But we have a complex beer that we just don't see that often in Michigan, guys, and it's coming from none other than Short's Brewing Company, and we all know Huma, right? You know Huma-Licious, right? So today, this is the bourbon barrel-aged variant, okay? And to make things double as fun, we have the Short's bourbon barrel-aged Huma-Licious bomber that you just don't see these days. You don't see any of these, guys. So I was trying to figure out what year these came from, and thankfully, this one is pretty legible. This one is from 10, 6, or 8, 2019. So maybe 10, 8, 2019, okay? ABV unclear. Online, I think it's going to say somewhere around 8.6 or 8.7%. But this bomber, this was a lot harder to figure out what year it came from because the print is so tiny and faded. It's either from 12/14/2016 or 12/14/2018. I just don't know what year it says, guys. But what's more odd about this beer is that Short's never puts the ABV on the bottles, ever, or the cans. Look at them. You'll never find the ABV on it. But for some odd reason, this bourbon barrel-aged Huma says 8.1% alcohol on the bottom of it. This was apparently $8.59 for this 22-ounce bomber, by the way. I don't know if this was the first time they ever did this. I want to say it was. I want to say they had fun and included these bombers, but I thought that we would compare these two guys because they're not from the same year, they're not the same size, but they do claim to be the same beer. So what are the differences? Well, I think the alcohol's certainly different, but will it be different beyond that? I don't know. So if this is from 2016, guys, this bomber, it's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is like 6.5 years old, 7 years old. That is nutty, okay? So I just want to throw that out there. This is not my favorite style. An IPA that is bourbon barrel-aged, not my favorite, okay? But I'm going to dive in. I think the regular Huma is like 7.7% or something like that. I don't know. So I'm going to crack into this one, guys, and see what it is. I'm just doing these for fun because I don't know when else I'm going to actually try these. So I already smell bourbon and vanilla notes. Wow. So the big bourbon Huma will go into the circular glassware, the tulip, if you will. Well, not the tulip, the Belgian glassware. And I'll give this a pour. This has been fun. I'm kind of doing like comparison videos lately for fun, guys. Huge dense head. Wow. Nice crispy orange looking dark copper beer. Beautiful. Good carbonation streaming to the top. Big dense head. Let's go over to the 2019 12-ounce bottle. Good pop. Good pop. And again, these barely have a haze or a chill on them. I'm sorry, not chill haze. They barely have a chill on them at all. Don't know if that's wise or not because it's an IPA that's barrel aged, but I like to taste what I'm drinking. And here we go. We have, again, the same color. I don't think we have any differences. We can probably verify that these are the exact same with the exact same head retention sticking on top. That is a good sign. So again, the ABV is slightly different, but I think that's the only thing. So let's go to an aroma on the 2016, we'll call it. Sweet, woody, maltiness. Sweet vanilla. A little bit of hop forwardness. Smells bitter, smells sweet, smells oily, smells... Wow, I get a lot of vanilla. Like a ton of vanilla on the bourbon. Straight from that barrel, man. But then there's this nice like tangerine fruitiness beneath it as well. Okay, I'm going to go over to the 2019. Okay. Much less barrel. Much less vanilla sweetness. But it's still there. It's just more subtle. I think more of the fruit is firm on this one rather than the barrel itself. But it's still there. It's just a lot less. Wow, this barrel's crazy on the 2016. It's just straight vanilla orange, like liqueur. But this still has it, don't get me wrong. Just a little bit less, but they smell very similar, guys. So let's dive into the 2016 Bourbon Huma. Cheers. Ooh, that's smooth. Super smooth, woody, dryness. And these barely have a chill to them, guys. So I'm getting the full effects of that bourbon barrel. This beer has completely just smoothed itself out. I don't know where that vanilla is because I really am not getting it that much besides that smoothing agent that's covering up the hoppiness of Huma. It's completely smooth, subdued, watered down hoppiness in the best way. I mean, I'm not bashing it. I just mean the flavors have almost become so smooth and faded that they're not there. But they are. It's just that they're covered up and like shadowed by the age of this beer. That is ridiculous. The Huma is almost gone. It's so subdued. It's so aged, and it's creamy though, and bone dry. So you're getting the IPA vibes underneath with that nice little bitterness on the back end, a little bit of pine resin, but that sticky green hoppiness is gone. That bourbon barrel is basically gone. It's basically just a subdued Huma with smoothness. That's bizarre. I don't dislike it though. I mean, I guess those things sounded negative. I did not mean for it to come out that way. I don't see it as a negative. This beer's ancient. It's from 2016. It's an IPA that's bourbon barrel aged. Let's get real. That's ridiculous. So as I go over to the 2019, I see a little bit more zippiness. I see the head retention sticking around a little bit more. Let's dive in. Still very smooth. I'd say the hoppiness is also subdued, but it's got a little bit more of that bitterness hanging on, a little bit more of that IPA vibe hanging on, and that subtle maltiness is still on my palate and hanging on the back end. I can feel it. I can feel Huma underneath. But again, very covered up by its age, but not to the degree of this bomber. I will say this bomber is very much dissipated. The actual beer itself is almost gone, whereas this one is still hanging on to some degree. The barrel's kind of showing itself there too, so the barrel's not as faded. The vanilla, this isn't as much vanilla as the bomber. It's more of that woody, grainy, wet bourbon presence that's kind of intertwining itself into the hops of the Huma. And I do get the maltiness from the Huma, and I get the bitter, slight, piney finish on the back end that does linger. This one also doesn't seem as dry as the 2016. So these are kind of the differentiating things I'm picking up, guys, just right on the fly. I'm doing these reviews just for fun. Don't call me out, okay? This is just to have a good time to compare beers that I don't think you'll ever see anybody compare these on the internet. I don't care what beer tube community you're in. You probably won't see somebody who's going to decipher these two together. I just happen to have both of them, so I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. So again, last thoughts going back to the 2016. Way less carbonation, way less hop bite, way less malt, way less barrel. Very smooth, very dry, very woody on the back end. 2019, final thoughts. More zippy, still smooth, not as bone dry, maltiness flexing a little bit more. Barrel presence a little bit more abundant, also playing into the bitterness of the actual Huma base beer itself. Cool comparison. It's fun. I will say that the ABV not really showing itself, but it is a little bit on the smaller 12 ounce. But this is also higher ABV a little bit. So again, 8.1. This might be 8.6, we'll say. And these are pretty old beers, guys. It's been fun to do this with you guys. If I had to choose one, I think I'd go with the 19 because I'm getting more of that base beer and a little bit more of that bourbon presence, whereas this one's almost just like a smooth vanilla bomb that has muted the beer itself because age itself is just showing. Can't avoid Father Time, guys. No matter how you store the beer, that's ancient. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick the 2019, but that's the only reason, because it reminds me of the original Huma. It is what it is. It's been a Shorts review. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I'm Dan. I'm over and out. Catch you on the next review, guys. Cheers.